What's up, everybody? My name's Indy, and this is Indie Game Business. That guy way over there is my partner, Jay. And in the middle, we have Elizabeth Sarquis. And I guess we're cheering with our coffee cups, because that's good.
Yes. And I'm already down to like halfway through it, so I'm not sure I'm going to make it through the entire show.
I'm at the bottom.
My coffee.
Water.
So, Elizabeth, thank you for coming on the show, because I've been pestering you about this for a very long time. But Elizabeth is the CEO of JUCO, and it's just fantastic what they're doing, because she's created a platform for ad monetization in mobile games that doesn't make you feel like you've sold your soul down the river, and all of the things, and I'll let her go into more of this, that are in it are, socially conscious, really good for all of us, products and services and all that kind of good stuff. So welcome, first off, and let's just start where we always start. Tell us how you got into the industry, and then just like walk us through your career a little bit and up to where you are now.
Well, thank you so much, guys. I really am happy to be here today. I really appreciate it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to just, kind of lay out the most kind of astonishing path that I had to get here. So really, when I look at the trajectory of my life, I came to realize that what I've always been about is building community. It didn't matter if I was in high school or in college or at running nonprofits or raising 3 kids. It really didn't matter. It was always about, how do we make community last, and what does that look like? So my background is I studied things like human physiology, political science, master's degree in child and adolescent development. I was very enamored with the brain. I wanted to know how people's brains worked. So child and adolescent development, we're all children at some point, and hopefully get to adolescence and then beyond. So studying human behavior has always been my passion. As a result of that, I became very in love with technology as it started to unfold in my college years, and I started programming in DOS, so that tells you like way back. And what kept me out of trouble in college was definitely Miss Pac-Man. That's always been like one of those video games, the arcade games that just kind of were like, I was the champion of Miss Pac-Man, and it made me just passionate about always playing games. Then throughout my career, I led a lot of nonprofits, and that was very fun. Really, really great. Always passionate about doing good in the world. And it was really with the advent of my first mobile game that I became enamored with mobile games. And that was Angry Birds. I used to stay up always playing Angry Birds. Phenomenal game, as you all know. And then I thought to myself, wow, I could see a vision in which mobile games would, that was 10 years ago, where mobile games would like take over, right? And everyone at that point didn't know what that really meant. Much less did they understand what the App Store was or the Google Play Store. And as we started to think about, wow, we can create a game and then do something good with it also. So storytelling, basically. Mobile games are storytelling in one way, shape, or form. They're an entertainment. And we launched a company, Global Gaming Initiative, where we did just that. Our mission was to make mobile games for social impact. And we did that. We were the first people that did that. I have to admit that pretty much everyone thought I was crazy. They thought that I was the craziest person on the earth, and like, well, who was this woman talking about making mobile games for social impact? And where was my pedigree in engineering? And I actually, they didn't know that you could also learn things online. You don't have to have gone to school, have computer science background to be an engineer. So that really catapulted me into this place where I started to think about things that were bigger. So there was a lot of companies that were doing awesome games on mobile. And the challenge that every single company had, including us, was how do you make money in this space, and how do you even get recognized? How do people find you when there's so many different apps and games that are being released on a daily basis? So it was really that kind of thinking after we had numerous titles released, and it was really, I have to give kudos to a female friend of mine who's in the business, who just kind of said, great game, I really like it, my husband really likes it, but why would we play this title when we can play another game, which was Clash of Clans? And I was like, yeah, you're 100% right. Why would you? It's still entertainment, still a choice. So that made us really think about how we could change all of the advertising and really make this mission of using mobile games for social impact into a real thing, into a viable, scalable model. And the one common denominator that everyone had, didn't matter if they were a small studio or a large studio, it was like they still had to have PR, they still had to have marketing, and obviously monetization. And that became the most important thing in order to really be able to be successful and not shut your door. And so we decided that was where we were going to focus. And for the last 2 years, we've built out the technology for this awesome platform.
So there's several points in there we can jump to, but one of the things that we're always telling developers, because we see so many of these developers and they're like, well, I'm doing this because I love it. I'm not doing this to make money. The reality is, I strongly feel that everybody needs to be doing things that they love doing, but you can't keep doing the things that you love doing if you're not making a little bit of money in the meantime, because then you have to go get another job. So, so talk about the first game, and the game that I know is the bicycle game from Global Gaming Initiative. Where did that come from? And tell everybody a little bit about how it was different in terms of what you all could do, with the revenue and what you saw from that game, because that game had a nice little hook in it.
Yeah, so that was our first title, and obviously very dear and special to my heart. We were on a mission to really connect the dots. We were on a mission to provide access to education for kids in all over the world in a way that they could, be reached. And we knew that transportation was a key factor. So we wanted to, obviously, we can't address every issue, so we broke it down to that first area of transportation. A lot of places have schools, but the distance, the travel time to get there is incomprehensible, and kids just couldn't get to school. So we said, well, how about if we create a story and tell that story in a game, and then also, have a really kind of clear, delineated way in which we provide bikes, like by the revenue that we generate from the game. So long ago, and it was like I was talking about things that people didn't even think about then. Now publishers are already doing cool things. We've got companies in Finland who are setting up academies for coding, which is amazing. We've got other companies that are actually giving, partnering with nonprofits to do good things all the time. But that was new at that time. And what was special about it was that we literally broke it down. We took a dollar bill and we said, okay, how much money goes to the App Store? How much money do we have then left over? How much money does a bike cost? And so it was so tedious and so laborious. And we realized that minutia was not necessary, although it was very important to understand from our perspective. Specifically, that's what helped us get to creating JUCO, how important the monetization was. Because if we didn't have in-app advertising, we couldn't make money. Because the only other way we could make money was if people upgraded the bikes. So we learned a lot from that game, and we had a lot of success with that game. And then we also then just said, well, what are we going to do with the next title? How are we going to approach that? We were fortunate because we were the first, because we were kind of like the first crazy team to go out there and say we can do this. We had a lot of great PR and a lot of good response, but we also had some naysayers going, this is BS, these guys, they can't do this. This is, impossible. So it's always fun to, prove people wrong.
It is fun.
And Sidekick Cycle, by the way, we are going to be re-releasing that game probably in the next 2 months with a few upgrades.
Nice. I didn't know that. That's good to know.
Yeah.
So tell us, the main reason why we're all here. Tell us about JUCO and what you're doing and what it does, and give us the high level on that before we dive into a lot of other stuff.
Yeah. So JUCO actually, as an indie game developer, I was pained with the decisions of how we were going to monetize. And when we integrated different SDKs for the monetization, then it was almost like our mission was kind of not as exciting for some consumers. Specifically at that point, we were dealing with a lot of parents in New York at the Tribeca Family Festival, and they were saying, we love this, this is a great place, our kids will can feel safe to go play your games, and they can teach them empathy, and they can feel really, really great. Like I got letters from kids all over the country saying, oh, make some more levels, we're already finished, we really love this, we feel so good because we feel like we're helping other kids. But then parents would say, well, hey, we don't want to have this negative advertising. I said, what's the negative advertising? And they said, oh, a game that's violent. And I'm like, oh gosh, I can't control that. So it really made us take a step back and say, well, what does that look like? How can we work to address that? So we came up with this another audacious idea, I would say, that we could really become an ad network, an in-app advertising network that highlighted companies that were doing good in the world and rewarded consumers with some kind of social impact, kind of as a surprise element. So that's what JUCO is about. It's reimagining in-app advertising. Currently, in-app advertising is what it is. Some people are fine with it. Some people don't like it. Most people are annoyed by it. And we are making it, our goal is to make it exciting, that you want to learn more about the companies, and that it's up to you if you want to purchase from them.
So in essence, a developer can come in and instead of, or in addition to whatever ad monetization platform they're using right now, they can implement JUCO and know that all of the ads and all of the media that's going to be going through that platform are, for lack of a better word, good. So, I mean, does that sum it up? Okay.
Yeah, Jay. So that does sum it up, and I encourage, and we have a lot of conversations with our stakeholders, obviously, publishers and brands on both sides, as to how they want to work on this platform. And I believe in co-creating a system that works for everyone. So on our platform, you can integrate our SDK, integrate other SDKs, and then the performance will speak for itself. So obviously, the goal is for people to, instead of timing, a lot of we've done a lot of focus group work, and a lot of that, the results tell us that people have, and I'm guilty of the same thing, they kind of have figured out a time sequence in which they just push the X button. So they know the ad's going to come up and they X out. So our goal is for them to maybe be a little more curious and to stay in the app and to look at at a brand or at an experience and say, hey, this is cool. And so that it's more in alignment with their values. So absolutely, integrate and that's the beautiful thing about monetization these days, is you can kind of test and see which ones are performing better for you and which ones are in alignment with what your goals are as a company, as a publisher, as an individual, whatever you can do. So yeah, we don't tell consumers that they have to buy from a brand. That's up to them. We're just like any other advertising platform that will have a series of ads, but you can be assured that the companies that are attracted to us are companies that are either, purpose driven, socially conscious, B Corps, all of the companies that are winning, we're helping them to really shine more.
So I'm gonna throw a link up in chat. So that's where you can go if you're working on your game and you want to get a little more info on JUCO. There's a link you can go to and get that kind of info. So how do you go about you deciding what goes on the platform? Is it outreach from your side? Is it, companies that know that they're in this space and they have something meaningful to offer coming to you? How is it broken down, and what's the process, to go through so we know, basically?
Yeah, so on the publisher side, so we have two sides, right? The publisher side and the advertiser side, the adverts. So on the publisher side, it's just really talking to publishers, reaching out to them, letting them know that we exist, and getting them excited about joining the platform. Because the way I think about it, it's like without the publishers, there is no monetization platform, right? The publishers are the real estate. No one watches television anymore, so everyone's on mobile, and so it's almost as if, and I'll include myself in this, that we're getting the respect that we deserve. Because for the longest time, game developers were not as respected as they are now. I mean, now people are respecting and looking up to game developers because they see the potential both in, emotional and addiction with VR. There's like so much awesome work and potential to help people with the different technologies and games. So I think finally we're at a place where it's no longer like, oh, games, yes, as a parent, you must monitor the screen time of your child. That's your responsibility. And obviously it's our responsibility to be very clear about what things cost money so that, people don't get bills that are astronomical and then get really angry with the companies. So none of that, transparency is really important. And so I think that on the publisher side, it's about, yeah, they're already really cool people and they're already doing good things, and just a different way for them to get a bit more of a shine on the good that they're doing. And with the eyeballs, and then across the impact that we're connecting on our platform, you can build stuff in real time. Like you can actually, you don't have to wait for single billionaires to do things that are good in the world. You as an individual are part of this. So imagine if there's 5 billion users on something, and how cool is that? And what it is that you want to change in the world, whether it's feeding a country. I recently watched that movie, Bohemian Rhapsody, Live Aid. That blew my mind. Think about that. We can do that here. We're an arena that can create that kind of impact. It's so awesome. And so for the advertisers, there you can go. You talked about conferences and events and all that. You can go to the most amazing conferences and they're all talking about the same thing, is how do you connect your brand with consumers nowadays, right? And how are you seen as an authentic brand? And the brands that are doing a really good job, and all the new millennial brands that are coming up, amazing. They're all just phenomenal. And so here's another place where they get to shine because they have incorporated into their company, into their DNA, this mission. That's who they are, just by the nature of their generation. So that's how it works. The impact side is just sheer fun and glory, because it's like, you name it, whatever we decide that we want to tackle. And I don't say we by myself and our company alone. I mean, as a community, we can plant trees, we can build schools. I mean, we can literally do things that governments are, not handling and that people actually care about.
Can be like on the forefront of, like, if there's a natural disaster or something, you can be just like right there on it and just attacking that right away.
Absolutely. And in addition to that, a lot of the companies that are in our platform are companies, for example, there's a sock company, and they already do that every time there's a disaster. They already donate socks. So imagine if there is a natural disaster or that live musical event that happened in I think it was 85 or something, where Ethiopia was starving and they had to raise a lot of money to feed them. Same thing. So all of the companies are already doing that. Then they're here, and then we can augment that. So it's kind of imagining a 10x factor.
So who are some, you mentioned the sock company, but who are some of the other folks that are already involved that, because the question I'm getting at here is, if I'm a developer and I've got my game and I have a particular cause that I want to support, how much leeway does the platform give you right now to say, okay, I want to do this? I mean, can they aim revenue at companies? Can they, how does it work in the, once it's all implemented?
So are you asking if a publisher can decide what impact project they want to be a part of?
Yeah, that's a good, we'll start there. I have lots of questions, but we'll start there.
I think, okay, well, so that's a good question. And I think in the beginning, that's not going to be the case, meaning we're launching with our first partner is a company that plants trees, and they plant trees all over the world. And so we'll plant trees. And shortly after that traction gains, then we will absolutely allow those kind of partnerships, so that you can pick kind of like a matchmaking between the publisher and, oh, I'm interested in education. Oh, I'm interested in climate change. Or I'm interested in, whatever it is.
So does it work in some ways like the traditional ad companies where, as the developer, I put the platform in, then as the consumer, as I watch the ad, are the developers getting a little bit of money and the tree company getting a little bit of money, or how does it work on that side?
Absolutely. Our model has to be as good as any other ad monetization model. So we pay the developers, absolutely. As I mentioned, I have the most respect as a developer for how difficult it is to make really cool games. So obviously, and the monetization in-app is gone from the teens. The necessity of it is so critical that it's gone from the teens to like much larger numbers. I speak to some publishers where it represents over 40% of their revenue. That's huge.
Oh, it's huge now.
It's huge. It's huge. So you have to pay. Yeah, no, this is not a nonprofit. This is not any of that. This is just like, think of this as a Warby Parker for in-app advertising. Basically, we do good, but we still make a lot of money, and we still sell. We just are awesome.
The Warby Parkers and the Toms and all the socially conscious companies that we've got out there now. So in the midst of that, I just absolutely derailed my next question that I had. I have no idea.
It's okay.
Welcome to my world. This is the way. This is the way the show goes. This is the way my brain goes.
All right. Well, I've got a question then, unless you want to go. Okay. Yeah. So with the way that media has been going, for example, movies now, I mean, you can buy movies, but I mean, really, it's Netflix. I mean, that's the thing. Netflix, Hulu, and music too. Pandora. You're streaming music now. Instead of buying albums, you just get a subscription. I know that video game industry is going to be like that at some point in time. At some point in time, you'll go on your phone and you'll have like a $10 a month subscription to a place, and then you'll have 10,000 games to be able to play or whatever. I mean, it's inevitable. So how do you think that that advertising like this is going to be affected by something like that. Are you guys thinking about that ahead of time, or?
Oh, absolutely. So we're a curated platform. We know, and we did that by design, because when you just plug in the other ad networks and all sorts of things run through there, they may or may not be congruent with the consumer's values or the user experience, or it's very disruptive. But if it's seen as something that's like in alignment with the market trend conditions, then it's a win-win. So I think, I see the Netflix. Yeah, I remember the Blockbuster story. I was around then. I saw the whole music industry change. I saw CDs go from, retail CDs to Napster to, iTunes to Spotify to Pandora to all of that now. Absolutely. So I think in mobile games, there will be a subscription model, no question. But is that and there already are some companies doing that, as you know, but there's still such a huge potential for indie developers, and with the ability for them to, like, even now with what Unreal Engine did by releasing a bit more attractive conditions for developers to develop on their own, or as Unity did, 7-8 years ago, and made it, a household name for developers. And Steam is doing that also. So I think all of that is really going to lead somewhere where there will be for sure a subscription model. But Netflix, for example, is going to be attacked pretty heavily by Disney this year. And so, it just depends on what happens in their market share if they don't make some moves there, because they still haven't really, it's going to be a challenge for them. And we also have the opportunity with JUCO to do, we haven't even discussed VR yet. So you have to think about where games are going and when there are cool places to do experiences. So JUCO will never be just an ad experience. So for now, it will look and feel that way. But the mission of it is more to be an awesome experience that aligns with the community at large. So hopefully that's a bit more of what a better explanation of what my vision is for that.
And we're seeing, so we've had a couple of our recent shows, we've been talking about the hyper casual market and how, like every other pendulum shift swing in this industry that I've seen over the last 20 years, originally when mobile games first came out, they were heavily monetized by ads, and then it moved to in-app purchases. And now it's actually moving back to ads again. And so a lot of these, the JUCO platform just fits in so well to that hyper casual market, because you've got typically, smaller developers, and that aspect of mobile development and mobile games is more accessible to smaller developers because they don't have to drop hundreds of $millions into user acquisition. But a lot of those smaller indie teams are the ones that we see that are like, we don't want free to play at all. We don't like the way that, the ads come up, because you're right. I've got a 7-year-old, he can be sitting there and playing some nice, sweet, innocent, game on the iPad, and all of a sudden, a ad for the next sniper shooter comes up on there. And it's not, it's so poorly curated right now, but, there is a absolute wonderful mesh right now between hyper casual games, which are all about monetizing through ads, and this platform, because we don't have to worry anymore about what's going to be shown on there and all of that sort of good stuff. So that's when I love the timing on this, because it's just absolutely coming to fruition at such a pivotal point in the industry.
I agree, Jay. And I also see like what's happening with social media spend. So 10 years ago, when I would have meetings with big companies, Fortune 500 companies, who would say, we're never going to be on social media. We're not going to be on Facebook. We're not going to be on Instagram, et cetera, et cetera. Now, as you know, they're all on there. And now what's going to happen with social media, one of the projections that we speak about with my co-founder is that, that social media spend is going to be like saturated by a lot of the big companies. And then what's going to happen is all of the other companies that are not the huge companies, the cost is going to be prohibitive, just as it was a few years ago for user acquisition in mobile games. It was, $6, $7, $8 to get a user. And so then people are going to be looking for a place to advertise that makes sense. And like I told you before, they're not looking at the TV anymore. They're looking at this.
Yeah.
And so it's the right place, the right time.
So, I mean, Indy had a good question with the subscription base, because we see so many companies, try to do it. And it's not, and every month we said, oh, this so-and-so is going to be the Netflix of games. And this has been going on for years and years and years. And we see, Microsoft has had success with it on the Xbox, and PlayStation's had success with it on the console, but there's not a clear, definitive leader on, the PC or the mobile game side. We've got a Heine, our good friend over at Utomic. They've got a wonderful product on PC, and Rovio has Hatch, which is, continuing to grow on the mobile side. But you've really got an opportunity with JUCO to take it beyond just the ad serving that it is right now, and to curate a selection of not only, it's not just where we have a game and then that there's ads that are socially conscious in it. I mean, you could build this out into an entirely new ecosystem of games that are socially conscious.
Absolutely. And I think that, at the heart of it, like your son and, anybody that's 30 and under, that's like what they think about. That's what they think about all the time. They think about, like, when they're making a purchase, where it's coming from, how it is, and how it's impacting the environment. So I do see that. And as I said, it's also interesting on the convergence of the market trend conditions, that before we used to talk people about e-commerce, and it was like, nah, people are still, go to a retail store during the holidays this year. Who was there? No one. I mean, you see the numbers, right? And you understand that, e-commerce is no longer a possibility. It is here. And so obviously when there's like cool companies that are releasing an exciting product, for example, when I got my first pair of Adidas recycled tennis shoes, I was so excited about it. They had a limited release. So when those kind of announcements are happening in the world, then JUCO will be the preferred go-to place to actually get those kind of products. And that's really cool. And the more people do that, then the more the ticker goes up in terms of something happening great in the world.
I'm used to Mixer, and I'm sitting here watching and paying attention on Twitch, and then I'm like, oh yeah, Twitch is like 6 seconds or 10 seconds or whatever behind, Discord. Let me move you back over here to Discord. So, what are, for the developers that are working on stuff now, or that want to, implement the platform in the short term, what can they do? What stage is it? Is it ready to go, or how far out is it, or what stage are you at right now?
We're ready to go, so they can integrate. What they should do is reach out to us, and since whether they have a really strong team that is accustomed to integrating SDKs, our SDK was obviously designed to be integrated with anything, Unity, iOS, Android, you name it. But they could just reach out to us. We're ready to go, and happy to talk to them, because the goal is, and this is what I say all the time, we are co-creating. We do not believe. So for the longest time as a developer, I felt like, the monetization choices were just like, that's what they are. You don't get to choose. And anything else, whether it was product placement or the old school days of product placement, EA did this really well. maybe some of those old things are going to come back, but in a new way, because we have, more technology now. So, absolutely, reach out to us. We're super excited to work with any and all developers, from large to small, or small to large.
Everybody in there.
Small to large.
Everyone in between.
And everyone in between. Yeah, no, absolutely. We're just really pumped for having a great 2019, and our vision is just kind of being, I guess the best way to explain to you what JUCO is positioned to do is the glue. We're like the glue that holds it all together. We're the glue that brings the whole ecosystem of mobile games, social impact, cool brands that everybody's buying from. That's it.
I can't emphasize that part enough, because the biggest complaint I see from developers, when it comes to free-to-play games, and it's bled over into just mobile in general, because that's where so much of the revenue is tied up in the free-to-play games, is the fact that they don't like the monetization mechanics, which is something that the developers and the publishers have more control over in terms of how you're going to monetize. But also in their choice in the ads, and what they're doing. And we've seen so much of a shift go to the bigger companies, and as a result, a lot of the smaller companies have packed up ship and gone, either gone out of business, unfortunately, or they have gone back to PC and and console. And so now we're seeing that same flood of content, and everyone's having the same discoverability issues on console and PC that they had on mobile. So we're just creating this trend all over again. So, this is a way that you don't have to feel like you're just kind of like, being bowed down to the man to, you're only going to be serving these ads that everybody else is serving. It gives you more choice, and it gives you more, say in what you're doing, in the position that you're putting out there as a developer. And that's what I love about it.
Exactly. And right. And Jay, we don't bow down to any man ever. So I want to emphasize the co-creation aspect of our platform, because this is something that we completely believe in. And you're right, the developer gets to decide, obviously, the mechanics of when they show ads, which is a really important aspect, because we think that the developer knows that. And if they don't know that, if they don't know when they want to introduce ads at which parts of the game, then obviously there's a whole bunch of teams and companies that can help them figure that out if they're really early in the process. But if you are already somewhat of a seasoned or a veteran developer, when you want to put your ads into the, which are the natural breaking points for your ads. But under the JUCO platform, your ads are it's a curated platform. So you kind of, what is really important is that we're building, my team talks to me a lot about content. And I didn't understand the value of content creation. And so I've, learned from them. And that's, I think, another thing. As a developer, you never stop learning. And when you think you know everything, you should, go to a room and, and understand, sit with yourself for a bit and say, hey, I don't know everything, because you don't. And so I've learned about how content is really important. So as a brand, JUCO, and we're writing a lot of content. We're writing a lot of content that describes both. We're doing some educational pieces that talk about how consumers are interacting with advertising, what their feelings are. We have a white paper for advertisers. We have a white paper for publishers, which I recommend everyone that's interested read. And that kind of walks you through what our vision and mission is and how JUCO works to a greater degree. And then also just being able to share cool things on social media. So once we launch, and we've gone back and forth on the social media thing for JUCO, and we've had times in our history as we've developed the platform where we started something and then we went, okay, let's go back. But really, ideally, social media for JUCO is going to be a co-created thing. It's going to be a user-generated when there's impact happening. How exciting is that when you can see the actual things that are happening that are awesome in the world? And you've been able to do that. So, and you're not a billionaire. You're just a person who's enjoying your game, and you as a publisher feel awesome because you were able to contribute to that. And you as an advertiser are already spending money advertising, but now your brand gets to be seen in a different light. That just to me is so exciting.
So, and you and I run in similar circles, but different circles as well. And we were talking about, the other day we were talking about Tim Sweeney over at Epic and all the stuff that he's doing. I mean, and that's literally like right here around where I am, where he's buying up all this land and for the sake of conserving it. When you see what are you seeing as some of the coolest things going on right now in terms of convergence between games and social impact? What are the things that are out there that people may not be aware of that are out there?
Well, I just saw that because I had to go to the GDC website, and I just saw that GDC is partnering with a nonprofit organization for homeless people. That's huge. So that's kind of cool.
Yes.
Obviously, what you spoke about with Tim from Epic is amazing. And also saying, Supercell setting up this coding academy. They just donated $30 million in Helsinki to set up a coding. That's not a small thing. So if you want to be a game in any part of engineering, whether it's design, art, coding, you can go to school there for free. I mean, that's pretty significant. And then, obviously, those are just some of the very, very large companies and very large institutions that are making that shift. But when you think about like a nonprofit organization, which I'm on the board of, and there's a lot of heavy hitters on that board, Games for Change. So you think about the people who are on that board, they've been massively successful in the game industry. They're trying to figure out a way to move more towards that space because they understand that that is an important place to be. So it's not just having a conference and having people come to, be excited to create. And I was one of those students. I mean, I remember when I first went to my first Games for Change event, I was like, that's cool. And then eventually I went from sitting in the audience to being on stage. And that's the story that I want people to know, that you as a developer, you can do anything. Literally, you just need to have, the perseverance and the ability to really put yourself out there. And yeah, if people think you're crazy, that's okay. Crazy is what makes good things happen. So I want crazy people. More crazy people need to come in, and you're all invited into my circle.
And that really is, I mean, I think there's so many times that, developers get into the industry and they want to do certain things, but then they feel like they get railroaded into the only way I can do this is if I do this type of ad and this type of monetization and this type of game. And it's not true. You can do a lot of really cool, really good things as long as you have a good game, first off, because that's always the key to it. You have to have something that's actually going to get people to play it. But the more options that, companies have these days, that is, one of the biggest things. That's what is so good about this, because, and that's why we wanted to have you on, because people don't know instinctively that this is out there, that this is an option that they have. And, it's just a good thing. And that's what I like, good things.
Well, yeah, and they don't know that we're out there yet because obviously we haven't made any announcements and we haven't officially launched yet. So this is like the most perfect time to be having this conversation with you guys, so that as we are now, bringing in publishers and bringing in advertisers, it's like, an ideal time to let the world know. We are a B2B business, so we are here to serve publishers and advertisers. And that is not necessarily always newsworthy, but you and I, all of us on this call, understand how important the monetization piece is for mobile game developers.
And you're going to be at GDC, so you'll be taking meetings there.
Yes.
And then obviously over the next couple of weeks and months and all this other stuff, we're going to see more and more information, coming out on everything. So I'm part of this is I'm so close to this, and you and I have been talking about this stuff for so long that it's hard for me to come up with the questions that I don't really already know the answers to. But in general, so where do you see the platform being in 2 years or in 5 years? How do you want to grow it from where it is right now?
Yeah, so I had a call about this with the accountant, and there's the financial side of the business, and then there's the vision. I see it as being the preferred place to, the preferred place to show to integrate with your mobile game.
Are you looking to do, obviously, and I don't want to throw the cart too far ahead of the horse here, but, with more and more of the free-to-play games going to PC and console, are you looking out and saying, okay, how can we integrate, into those games as well, or are you going to keep it mobile focused for right now?
Yeah, so that is something that I really, for right now, we're going to keep it mobile focused, but we never take our eye off the future. That's why I mentioned VR, because we already have concepts as to how this will look inside of VR, in a VR experience. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it's like we're creating a brand that emotionally allows you to enjoy your experience, because people now know that they have to have, consumers are kind of trained to know that there's advertising, right? Even on our social media feeds, there's a ton of advertising. People now know that. And so instead of saying, hey, this stuff is just really annoying, we're going to make it worth your time. That's it.
That's it. And we're going to help people while I do it.
That's the reason. I mean, it's all about the why. So there's two things fundamental to the JUCO brand. One is obviously content creation and the story as to why we do what we do. And yeah, we could be doing any other kind of business that had nothing to do with social impact. But for us, the why is giving people tools in order to make a difference every single day. And they don't have to rely on only one or two or a handful of very wealthy people to make an impact in the world. They can buy a pair of socks that make an impact. They can, integrate an SDK in their app or game that's cool, that allows that to happen. So for us, it's like a way of being. It's like kindness, empathy, and at the end of the day, if people can leave with a little bit more joy, that's amazing to us. And obviously make a lot of money, because you can never forget the money aspect of the mobile game industry, because otherwise you do have, what happens is exactly what you said, you have to close the doors.
Yeah. And it's the part that we see get so neglected, day in and day out. It's like, even over in Helsinki, they're going to build this big academy where you can learn to code. But are they going to teach the business part of it there? Are they going to teach how to do effective in-app advertising? Because that's the other thing that we see is, and it's so why it's so good that you have these resources on the site, to give that guidance in there, because we've worked with, SDK partners in the past, and it's like, okay, we've got these analytics, and all the analytics are going to come in from the game. Mm-hmm. But the developers, especially some of the newer ones that haven't done this in the past, are sitting there going, okay, we have all this analytics. Now what do we do with them? And how do you not only, put an ad in the game, whether it's a meaningful game, ad for social impact or not, how do you do it effectively? It's that sort of stuff that we have to help educate, the industry on as well, because there is no one place that you can go and understand all of that, because, and it's just, it is, you know, I get frustrated with it because it's one of my big beefs in the first place. So,
I think this is a perfect place for us to do that. I think that it's an amazing opportunity, Jay. And I think you're like spot on, because the creativity that developers have and all of the different engines and tools that they can use to develop their games. But and this is something I've mentored a lot of young developers about, is like, well, okay, so how are you going to make money? Because you're right. They say, well, I just don't want to do it for that reason. And you're right. But if you tell them that there's an option where they can not sell their soul, they love it.
Yeah.
Well, something, you know what? Something happened, you know, because it used to be the American dream, or the dream, or whatever it was, that you could take your hobby or whatever you love and turn it into your career. And then when, like with Twitch streaming, people's mindset shifted. I call it demonetized. It's demonetized, you know, but it's demonetized, to where it's like, oh, well, you're just doing it for the money. Like, that's a bad thing. Well, yeah, doesn't everyone want to do what they love and make a living at it? Wouldn't you just like to do what you love and that be your job? And there is nothing wrong with that in any way, shape, or that is like, that's the definition of the American dream, is what it is. And people are just like, oh, well, you're making a game, it's just a cash grab. No, I just want to do this for my living. There's nothing wrong with that at all. I want to do what I love for my living. And if I can help something else in the meantime, that's awesome. Like with my stream, we do a lot of charity streams and stuff like that. So I, you know, doing that as a game developer, I mean, isn't that amazing? You can do what you love, you can make enough money to survive, and you can help these big efforts that you wouldn't normally be able to assist in any way, shape, or form.
And that's so true. And by the way, my co-founder and I just did a presentation in Munich in December, and to a bunch of developers. They actually invited us in there. They never invite advertising companies to speak to them. They invited us to speak to them, and it was like, when we said, you know what, it's like a whole new screen, basically, because they're so geared into thinking a particular way that they never thought of the fact that, shoot, these companies can advertise cool products in our space, right? And I remember seeing the guy's eyes go cross-eyed, going like, wait a minute, that's amazing. And so it's like, yes, we can do all of that. We can do that together, and we have to do it together.
It's one of the things that I have always loved. And, you know, I do believe you have to be in the industry for a little while and get to know how it works before you can do this. It's much harder to jump in, you know, straight in day one. But, you know, to be able to take all of the knowledge that we have as developers, or the business folks, or you know, the marketing folks in the industry, and kind of reposition that to actually do, you know, good stuff, you know, whether we're, you know, using games to create simulations to help educate people or help to train people, or, you know, we're doing it in the form of something that is, you know, beneficial to society as a whole. But one of the things that I really, really love doing is sitting down and looking at these different, you know, options out there. Like I'm on the WeFar site right now. I mean, the partner that you all have that's planting trees. And, you know, the first thing that comes to mind is, oh, wow, this could be really good. You could actually take what they're doing and create a very simple yet fun game with putting the trees together and putting these, you know, different environments and ecosystems together. Like, what was the one Lloyd was talking about the other week? Dragon Merge or Triple Town, like we had. I mean, you know, there's so many of these companies that, you know, they don't understand enough about what we do in the game industry. And those of us in the game industry don't necessarily always know about what they're doing and what they're good at and all of that kind of good stuff. But, you know, there's so many opportunities now for us to take what we know, you know, create a fun game and not have it be just whatever versus zombies that's out there right now. It's something totally totally new and helpful. And that's why, I love all of this.
You got it, Jay. That's that's exactly right. And by the way, WeForest has cool technology in which they can actually show you. They have geolocation, so you can actually see when you planted trees where they are. We could even put tags with people's names on them. There's like so much cool stuff that's happening, guys. We're just so excited.
It's 12 o'clock.
It's 12 o'clock. It's your time. Okay, so I have a question about the ads that are in the game that you put in there. Do they just look like regular ads, or are they integrated to look different? Are you guys doing anything different than just having like a pop-up in the game, or?
Yeah, our ads currently, our initial launches with, and we can change this, but our initial launches, interstitial full page ads. They look and feel like beautiful Instagram ads.
Okay.
So, but you've got like a watermark or something. People know that it's a JUCO ad versus just a.
They always have the JUCO logo on it, and also, I'd be happy to, if there's anybody that wants a test flight invitation to see how it works, send me your emails and we'll get you on test flight. Absolutely.
Yeah, you can ping us, and Elizabeth's on our Discord server, so you can catch her there as well. It's just where I always, the point in time where I always forget to plug different stuff that we're doing to keep everybody posted. So there's our Discord server. Feel free to, check us out there, ask questions. We can absolutely get you in touch with Elizabeth and JUCO if you're interested in something like this. Coming up, later on this week, we've also got Jason De La Roca, who's going to be on talking about funding for your studios. And we are shortly, hopefully within the next couple of days, going to be formally announcing the first indie game business micro conference that we're doing as well. But this is, like I said, this is something that I just absolutely love. And I, can't wait to help you all get the news out about this, because it is so transformational, and it's such a wonderful opportunity for developers and publishers alike to do something different, that they still get the benefits of what they've been doing, but at the same time, they're actually going out and helping people the whole time that they do it. So, that's it in a nutshell for me. I mean, is there anything that we didn't hit on that you want to hit on while we're here, Elizabeth?
I think we had a pretty in-depth conversation about the vision and mission of JUCO. So I guess the only thing I would ever like to say is I'm here for anybody, anytime. I love games. It's my passion.
And that's why we're all doing this. It is.
So what? All right. Well, let's go. Since you love games, what is your favorite game? And do you play on console, PC, mobile? What do you do? What's your game you're playing?
I'm trying not to play. My friends are very involved in Fortnite. I'm trying not to play it because as I run this company, I have to make choices. So right now I'm playing Cook It.
That's a mobile game?
Yeah, I never thought it would be cool because it was like a game that has something to do with cooking, and I'm like always hated anything that had to do with anything that was stereotypical female. So I was like, I'm not gonna like this, but now I love this game. It's like crazy. And then I play some other random stuff on mobile, and I don't know why I play them. It's just like I try to understand why it's addictive. So like as I told you, I'm always trying to figure out things. So there's this one game it's really weird. It's called the Wait Game. Have you heard of it?
No.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't even know why I look at it. Every night before I go to bed, I press it, and it's just 9 cards, and you have to press it and play how much time you waited. Weird. So I'd like to challenge myself in a broad spectrum of games so that I know what's out there. I know what's, going on. Of course, I always like the usual stuff. I still always like Angry Birds stuff. There's nothing that's ever going to change about that, just because it was my first game that I fell in love with. I loved Bejeweled more than I loved Candy Crush. So I mean, there's just a whole array of stuff.
So you have your mobile device, right? Do you also have like what I have here? I have my mobile device, but then I have this nice little big tablet that's so much bigger. And do you have? And it's just for gaming.
Absolutely. I also have a Vive. I also do some VR stuff. I'm super enamored with VR, just FYI.
So what is your favorite? Oh, because I'm always looking for new. Because I've got a Vive too. What is your favorite thing on VR right now?
God, right now I'm really into exploring I'm still exploring the worlds, because I'm looking at some applications for senior care living, some doctors that want us to work on this. So I'm just like, imagine going into the world just like on Google and going to see where you can see the streets in different cities. So I'm still like doing all of that. And then there's a shooting game, which I can't remember the name of it, but I love shooting stuff. So it's like a Jenga game, and my assistant set me up with it. And so I'm always like, and it's so fun.
Have you tried Beat Saber?
No.
You have to play Beat Saber. It is the best game ever.
Beat Saber.
No, Beat. B-E-A-T. You stand there and you have like these lightsabers in your hands. And these blocks come through you, and you have to hit them the direction of the arrow. It's a good workout, and it is so addictive and fun.
Oh my God, that sounds amazing. I was just with a publisher in Bogota, Colombia, who made the game for Moana. Their company is called Cocodrillo Dog, and they're patenting some technology for all this music stuff. So I'm definitely going to do the Beat game.
Yeah, it's like awesome. The best VR game out there as far as I'm concerned.
Nice, thank you. I love it. Yeah,
I'm the same way. It's like I have access to all these games, and I end up, when I turn on the Vive, or especially like when someone else comes over and they want to see it, the first thing I go through is like Google Earth. It's like you can literally go, wherever. It's
so crazy, and then you can like go to like. There's one scene in there where it's like this Zen-like place, and you can have like this room, and it's all feels like sustainable wood, which is right up my alley. And you can see the mountains, and you can just sit there and go, wow, this is so cool.
Yeah, and then you can walk. You can like go to the edge, and there's a gun there, and then you can shoot stuff. Yeah, yeah, I know. I spent some time in that, and then you can like move furniture, and you can add a whole bunch of furniture, and I know
exactly. That's the one.
And that's just like the Portal thing to it. It's not even a game.
No,
but I can take stuff and see how far I can throw it out in the woods. And
but that's what I like about it, because as I said, we're consulting for this group in New York, and it's like, quite literally that the headsets are not quite ready yet for the senior care facilities. I mean, there's some couple companies trying to do it, but it still has limited access for because of the weight and the visual problems with the demographic that they want to work for. So, but yeah, I mean, I like just going to that basic stuff. It's so cool.
Have we Academy experimented? Have you guys experimented with Magic Leap yet? I know Magic Leap, but I haven't had a chance to play with it.
I don't even know what it is.
I know Magic Leap as well. Actually, one of our founders, who's a lawyer for our company, has done some stuff with their,
So have you actually seen their tech in person yet?
Oh,
I don't know that anybody has.
They have a huge valuation. I'd be very interested in seeing it.
Oh my God, yes, for years. And it's
been like... I would love to see it. Yeah.
You can buy it for $2,500. I always thought Magic Leap was like that kid's toy tablet thing that... Isn't that called Magic Leap, or is that something else?
That's something else.
That's Leapfrog.
Leapfrog.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah, I haven't... I like you have not yet seen Magic Leap, but like I said, they have a huge valuation.
But I think it's funny. It's like you can get it for $2,500, which at the end of the day, if you're going from zero to VR on a Vive, that's about how much you're going to spend anyway. By the time you get the PC that can handle the Vive, and exactly.
expensive.
That's what's good about the PlayStation VR. You got most people, you know, they got a PlayStation, just get the VR.
I know, but there's not nearly as cool. There's not nearly as much cool stuff on the PlayStation side. I mean, there's cool games, but
and there's also so many games on my Steam account. They're like, oh, you have a VR headset?
Yes, Steam is amazing. So as you guys know, a lot of young developers and a lot of younger people, they like adore Steam.
Because it's the #1 gaming platform.
Because that's where everybody is.
That's where everyone is.
So there was a conversation on Twitter last night, that I saw with several different smaller devs, and they were talking about how sad it was that they're seeing year to year their revenue go down on Steam between these sales, because Steam just did their Lunar New Year sale, and it's like there's still a lot of angst and a lot of disappointment because these devs aren't getting the kind of visibility on there. And that's where we get back into the whole, does Steam justify their 30%, take? And I don't, depends. To me, it depends on who the company is. For a small indie dev, no, they don't. Because, it's one thing to be paying out that 30% if you're getting the visibility, but a lot of these teams aren't getting the visibility anymore simply due to the, number of games that are out there. And so it is still the biggest and the baddest, but we need more stores like Discord and Epic and all of these other ones that are up and coming to kind of balance that out and give some of that visibility back to the developers.
Yeah, the whole free-to-play model just changed everything in the game industry, as you guys know, and it's really challenging. People have now, when I first started my first game, it was like, we built this awesome game on an engine that was so massive, that Unreal Engine, which was like not even a thing that anybody could figure out how to use then. And then it came to like, oh, we have to market it. What does that mean? Oh, we need to get the word out. What does that mean? And what do these, it was just crazy. And so all of that, now, if you want to be in the industry, you need to have this type of place that you guys are producing, where people can actually learn how they monetize.
Because again, there's no good place to learn it. No. All right, I've got to get wrapped up here because I've got to go pick up Mini Me.
Mini! Okay.
It's a Mini Me.
Elizabeth, thank you so much for coming on. And, if anybody's got questions about JUCO, it's, www.jukko.com.
Correct.
And then, Elizabeth's on Discord. You can always find us, send me a message here on Twitch, email me, find me on Discord, whatever. I will absolutely put you in touch to get you, SDKs and onboarded and all that kind of good stuff. But yeah, that's it for me. Anything else that y'all want to
tune in every Wednesday and Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for more indie game business? How's that? Was that epic?
That was epic. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Movie account, your movie voice
in a world.
Thank you so much, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.